Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm so honored to have the ladies and gentlemen with us here in the studio, in the boardroom, talking about life and talking about how to progress and how to make it. And so we welcome you, the online community, together with those on TV. On this journey, I think you and I have made a pact and decided that we are going to thrive. Under no circumstance are we going to sink, or are we going to just stay in the survival mode? Because you and I know that the survival mode is not the best of the things to actually happen to our lives. Survival means you're gasping for air. Do you know what survival means? Like, you're literally gasping for air. You're literally, you have a desire, but nothing is happening. But we want to get to a place where things are happening with ease, okay? And I feel that that is a place that God has called us to be. And I feel that that is a place that can impact other lives, and then that is a place of answers, okay? And not necessarily knowing everything that is happening in the world, but having the peace of mind that I am me, I accept me, I love me, and everything is going to be okay. So just that promise, and we share that promise with you that everything is going to be okay. But tonight, we get to talk about pressure. Pressure, like the pressures of life. And I don't know how we define pressure, but clearly when something is under pressure, you can see that it is strained. When something is under pressure, that means there's something on top of it. There's something seated on it. There's something that is pushing it down. And not just down, there's something pushing you from all sides. And that's what happens in our normal life. And I think there is somewhere in the Bible where it's written that we are pressed from all sides, but we are not consumed. Like, literally, something that pressurizes you is like it wants you to vanish, it wants you to diminish, it wants you to give in, it wants you to give up under the weight of the pressure. Because the pressure has weight. You can't say that I'm being pressurized and there is no exertion of force. You can't say that. That means that whenever you say there is pressure, for example, I think we've made statements like pressure when it comes to from work, from your supervisors. You're like, oh, my supervisor has put me under pressure. That means he's breathing literally under, breathing into you and wanting you to finish certain tasks, or even giving you things that you think you can not supposed to do, or you can't do in those margins of time, but you feel you are pressurized. And you know what pressure does is it brings a breakdown, and then it leads you to a meltdown. What pressure does is it brings a breakdown. A time comes and you're like, you know what? Like, whatever comes. I know that I am on 28th, I'm supposed to hand in on the 30th, but I just feel like I am overwhelmed. So what you do is, when you break down, you cease to think. And then when you cease to think, when you get into a meltdown, it's more like you are depressed. And you know, most of us have been depressed. When you have a deadline, you get a silent depression of some sorts, because you're thinking about the deadline, you're procrastinating on top of that. Like, things are just not shifting. Other deals are also falling apart. You're not keeping time. You're not praying the way you used to pray. You're not showing up in your relationships the way you used to show up in your relationships. Why? There's a pressure on one part of life, and that pressure is causing you to topple off and to cause a chain of reaction in all other parts of your life. So you realize that pressure is inevitable. You know, when we talk about pressure, we can't say of anyone, and I can't think of anyone that is pressureless. Everyone in this world is with pressure. Be it the greatest presidents in the world, be it the greatest businessmen in the world. Otherwise, we will not have the Elon Musks and Zuckerberg fighting on Twitter or exchanging words. Why? They are under pressure. Ape mutwala. You know? So pressure is inevitable. And once we know that, then we get to want to understand what our pressure is about, instead of running from it. Because when we get frustrated, what happens is frustration comes because of unmet expectations. And usually pressure becomes because those expectations are not met. And sometimes you even have expectations about yourself. Have you ever made a timeline for a milestone for yourself? And you're like, by this age, I should have gotten married. By this age, I should have children. Or by this age, I should have been at least driving a kaukakale, at least a pichi. Or by this age, like we set those targets, and sometimes they're very unrealistic. You have not looked at how much you earn. You have not looked at all the responsibilities that you are carrying, the baggage that you, like everything is seated on your neck, but you are busy setting. So when the time comes and you've not achieved them, and sometimes we even announce them to other people. Have you seen people who boldly announce, you know, by this time and this time I should have done this? And then you go back and things are not adding up. Life is lifing. Eh? When the life starts lifing, then you start, how do I eat my own words? I mentioned this and it's not actually working up. I said by the end of this year I should hold this kind of phone. By the end of this year I should have gone for this kind of vacation. You know, that kind of life that is happening right now. And then sometimes we even mention them on social media. So we involve the whole social media fraternity. They even become our in-laws. And then they become our in-laws of Kajanja who are entitled, and you have given them the way and you have publicized your private life, and now they own it. So they are throwing it back to you. You have weaponized everyone, and now you are under pressure because of something that you said that you should never have said. So you realize that some pressure is self-imposed, while other kind of pressures come externally. They come from external sources and they come from everywhere else, okay? And when we try to give examples, some people are under pressure because they are looking for a spouse. Some people are under pressure because they don't have a job. Some people are under pressure because they were looking for a spouse. Now they got a spouse and now they understood that they didn't need that spouse and they're on their way out. So you realize that we are under pressure. You are under pressure because you have a job, but that job is not paying you enough. You are under pressure because your family is looking to you and you alone like you are their God, and they're thinking, everything that comes, please send this side. And so people are under pressure. People are under pressure because of political positions that they got into and they didn't know the weight of it. People are under pressure because of the courses that they signed up for, and then in the middle of the course they discover that this is not the course that I wanted. So you realize that pressure is crisscrossing in people's lives. Someone is under pressure right now because they don't know where supper is going to come from. They don't know whether someone is under pressure because they are looking for a child for the past 15 years. They've been married for the past 15 years and a child is nowhere to be seen. So people are under pressure for different things. You have started your coaching practice, it's not growing. You've started your business and your business is not businessing. Eh? And then you've trusted people and people are peopling. so you realize that pressure becomes a pressure, okay? But one thing that I should be able to tell you, just like I said, pressure is inevitable, I will tell you that you were built for that pressure that you were going through. You were built for it. In God's assessment, when he was creating you, putting you in Uganda in specific, you bringing you as a child as a gift to those particular poor parents, wherever, the peasant parents, wherever in Chanamukaka, and you ended up in Kampala, and you ended up, you know, doing that business, and you ended up here at Media Plaza, as in he orchestrated everything, assessing what you can handle and what you can't handle. And guess what? Whatever you can't handle, God will never allow to come into your laps. Because he's not about to consume you. What he wants is to build character out of you. What he wants is to build resilience out of you. What he wants is pressure refines and defines. All the best stones that we know, they go through pressure, they go through fire. So it's inevitable. You can never want to become a diamond. You can never want to become gold. You can never want to be sapphire. You can never want to be the best stone in the world without going through the things that refine you and define you. Don't come with their share of pain. They come with their share of pain. And that is the pain that we are constantly running away from. Because among us, the things that we are going to share, I want us to share the fact that, as in, what does the pressure do? What does it do in our lives? Because it does so many things. It sabotages so many things, okay? And one thing that when I was going through the pressures of my own, I've told you, enough of my stories. I'm not going to repeat them. If you want to know any of my stories, please go back to YouTube videos and all that. You will know all my stories. But again, when I was going through the pressures of my life, I remember vividly hearing it within me and saying that, you know, those moments where you're saying that, but why me? Why did God let it happen if he knew it would never amount to anything? Why? Like, literally, you get something like someone puts a sweet in your mouth and then takes it away. I think we've gone through certain scenarios like that. Something good falls on your lap and all of a sudden it falls through the cracks of your hands. And you are trying so hard to hold it, but you cannot hold a human being, or you cannot hold a job, or you cannot. There are things that we can never hold because they're not in our grasp. They're not in our control. So that is where we say life keeps lifing, because things will keep happening. I just had it inside of me that, you know what? There is no one better to go through this, because the version of you that is going to come at the end of this is going to be a version that is ready to be introduced to the world, that is ready to help other people, that is ready to hold people's hands. You can never be weak and help another person. You have to be strong in order to help another person. And sometimes some of the promises that happen to our lives, or the hope that we get in the worst of places, comes and you're like, okay, I'm in the middle of this fracas, of this turmoil, of this turbulence. And then I am getting a promise that a time will be like this and everything is going to be fine. And then you're like, but how is everything going to, like, literally, you don't see where things are going to add up. Have you ever been in a situation? You people seem to have simple situations. You're in a situation, you calculate, all your bulldozer formulas end, and there is no result. Literally, you're at the wit's end. You're about to throw in a towel. You're about to give up, whether it's about a business, you're about to give up, whether it's about a relationship, whether it's about a marriage, whether it's about a relationship between a parent and a child, whether it's about your job and your dreams. Sometimes you become so drained. And let me tell you, sometimes you don't become so drained because sometimes we think money answers to everything. Money does not answer to everything. Sometimes the people that are most pressurized and are breaking down and melting down are people who have all the money in the world. All the money in the world. That if they wanted, if money could change everything, they would have changed everything. But certain things come as tests. Okay? That they will test who we are, the core of who we are, and what God has placed inside of us and what God is doing inside of us, okay? So I said God made that assessment. Unfortunately, you're not supposed to make that assessment. You can't say, I'm strong enough. And then you can't say, you problem come, but you pressure don't come. You cannot choose which pressure comes to you. And as we speak, some pressures have not happened in our lives. There are people who are walking out of a mega pressure. There are people who are in the middle of a mega pressure right now. And there are people who are getting out. And sometimes they're unscorched. Let me tell you, there are so many times I have looked back in my life and I'm like, I don't smell the smoke I have been in. I'm like, no. Like, how does this happen? That I was in a furnace. Clearly, there are some pressures that look like furnaces. Like you're in the middle of a furnace and you're thinking, at the end of this, I should smell fire. Whoever sees me should ask, how did you survive? But clearly, someone sees you and it's like you've been chilling in Bahamas for all your life. And they just don't have any slightest clue about the things that you have had to endure, or the things that you have had to go through. But you bent backwards, you bent, and let me tell you, God gives it to us that we become flexible and elastic and we are not consumed. Otherwise, if we were stiff, that is where when you're under pressure and you're stiff, you break down and you melt down. So I want us to go very quickly, but I want you to know that there is a better version of you that is coming out. A better version of you that is coming out. And you are going to get your return on that investment, because you walking through whatever pressure is investment. It is investment. You're going to get your returns on investment, returns on your time, returns on your energy, and even recovering the lost years. Okay? And these are things that, I have gone through and things that I have seen happen. You know, when one door opens and it covers for the 10 doors that closed in your life, When the turnaround, you just didn't see, God swung it open and left it open, and then he accelerated everything that was supposed to come through that door, that it didn't come at a slow speed. For me, when God opened my door, he left it open. It is still open right now. But I think when he opened, he was like, I'm not closing until your calling or your purpose runs through. I'm not closing until you're fine with your family. I'm not closing until a husband is through, children are through. As in, one thing that I discovered, and I think I've shared it here before, is the devil has no right to kill you or do anything in your life or sabotage you. What he does is he influences you to act in a way that sabotages you. He causes you to procrastinate. He causes you to be lazy. He causes you to not acquire the knowledge that you need. He causes you, and that I got when I was reading that story of Adam and Eve, because if he had the right, he would not have come and just told them that, you eat of this, you will get the knowledge. That is influencing. It's like these days how influencers work on us. They take a video while Omo is there, and then you're thinking about Omo. Now even the devil came and was like, you eat of, he told you will die. You will not die. So what he does is he causes you to doubt God, and then he influences you to do something that self-sabotages. So that means, literally, the power of death and life is in your hands and in your tongue. So you choose life and live, or you choose death and die. So you realize that even when you're under pressure, you have a choice to make. Pressure can sabotage our success, and it lets us stand in our own way. If someone else is standing in your own way, it's easy to chase them away. It's easy to say, so and so. It's easy to point a finger. But how about when you have to point that finger back to yourself? Like, it's the worst thing to just think that you have failed. You remember last time, for those that were here, we asked, why are you leaving money on the table? Why don't you have the money that you're supposed to have? For example, why don't you have the money that you're supposed to have? And clearly, we got the answers. Laziness, procrastination, lack of confidence. We don't know, there is some knowledge that we are lacking, that we need we need to get. We're not resilient enough. Some of us were sleeping a lot. Literally, you can see that you are standing in your own way. No one is standing in your own way. You are not even the devil. You cannot even rebuke him and tell him, get out of my way. Because when he tells you, sleep a little more, you remember the sluggard that we talked about? That the thief, poverty comes like a vagabond and it just takes you over. The thing is, that's you standing in your own way. So what pressure does is it can sabotage your future. Because when you get pressurized and you break down and you melt down, there is nothing that you can do that is constructive to your business. There is nothing that is constructive to your ministry. There is nothing that is constructive to your children. There is nothing that is constructive literally to everyone that is around you. So you cease to be constructive. And what you do is you become demoralized, you become depressed, and you start undoing the things that you have done. If you had some cash savings, you consume the cash saving. Yeah, like you eat it. You literally see everything good. You buy things on impulse, and then all of a sudden, kawedeo. And then now you even get more depressed because now there is nothing to fall back to. And then now you start blaming people. Kale, they can't help me. Kale, they can't do what? And before you know it, you've hated people. Because number two, what pressure does, it kills our significant relationships. Now, by significant, I want us to understand it very well, because sometimes we think because we are all valuable to God, then we are all valuable to ourselves. No, being that as people we are valuable to God does not mean that all of us are valuable to you. Being that we are valuable to God because we are God's masterpiece. He calls us beautifully and wonderfully made. He says all those good things, but that does not mean that we are valuable to you as a person, all of us. We can be valuable to God, that can pass, but we are not all valuable to you. So that means you must be able to choose and say, I have cautions, and I have a courtyard, I have an inner, courtyard, and then I have a bedroom. There are people that I will live at different places. I don't take everyone to my inner chambers. So that means the people that are really significant are people that are adding value to you, are people that are close. You have brought close. Why? Because they have gone through all the assessments, the segments, and they have ticked all the boxes, and you're like, you know what? This person, I need them in my life. So what pressure does is, the significant people are the ones that you sabotage and kill and depress, and you do everything against them. Just imagine a wife who is pressurized and they don't know how to manage the pressure. They break down, they melt down. Do you understand a meltdown? Do you understand a meltdown? You guys don't understand a meltdown very well. When my son Ariel was younger, he has had speech delays for so long. When he was younger, we suspected he was autistic, and I think I mentioned it to you. So we suspected that he was autistic. You know, autistic children sometimes have a meltdown that cannot be controlled. Like, all of a sudden, you don't know where it has come from, you don't know what has pissed them off. So he had those episodes at around 2. Later on, we learned it was a different thing. Mishandling and mismanagement, when you have a house manager or a nanny that is not that good for the child. When we switched the nanny, things actually became different. But before that, we thought he was autistic. And so he would have these meltdowns. And sometimes I would say, you know what? We cannot go anywhere. Let's stay home. Because then I don't know when he's going to melt down, and I don't think I can contain that meltdown. Because at home then, he has his corners, he has his toys, he can withdraw to a bedroom and stay there because he would love to withdraw and just stay in the bedroom and without any disturbances, and we would know better not even to go there, because if you go there, you are rekindling the meltdown. So, and I've seen some of these parents, because he outgrew that. Right now he's more self-controlled than even the big sister. But I have seen parents who have had autistic children, and even those that don't have autistic children, but they just have children that face those phases of meltdowns. And don't lie to me, you have seen an adult who melts down. They're uncontrollable. When they start quarreling, they even want to shiver. They feel like they should strangle someone. They even say things they don't intend to say. They scream at the top of their, or even when you when you tell them shh, it's like you have poured what? Petrol on the flame, Just imagine that is your husband. When he comes home, everyone is running away. When he says he starts to quarrel about a cup, and he will quarrel about everything in the house. Now, do you see that? And then after that, people use it as an excuse. I was stressed at work. My friend, manage your stress. Manage your pressure. Otherwise, you're going to lose important people in your life because you cannot control yourself or manage the meltdown. Because when you break down, sometimes the breakdown we do not witness. People break down, and we've broken down at so many places where you feel your heart is breaking, where you feel the pain, but maybe no one is saying anything. By the time you melt down, it has been shaken together, pressed down, and now it is overflowing. And when it overflows, it's not like a tap that you can go and turn off. No, it has overflown. So now, deal with it. And some people, yesterday we were talking about it still with Tim. We have random conversations. And we were talking about the men that are in the life, or the women that, not the bad, because you cannot label them as bad, but the women that melt down because of the past and the things that they have been through. And poor man does not know, like, where this is coming from, where it's stemming from, how to even handle. And sometimes they will walk away, they will withdraw. Sometimes they will even seek for prayer. Sometimes they will, and those women land into good men's lives. I don't know how it works. Like, it's like a magnet that is always pulling the meltdowns towards the stable ones. It's purpose. Mbuno, it's purpose. Even the men, by the way, it works. I usually call it the attraction syndrome, but I think there is something more than attraction syndrome, because it can't be that the crazy ones are the ones that are attracted to the calm ones. It's divine. Yeah. So that
there is always a need for balance. There is always a need of neutralization.
Because if both of you were hyper, because if both of you were hyper, then the whole house will be on fire. Where my problem is, the one that is acting as the neutralizing agent sucks in a lot sometimes. Especially when they find a crazy one, not just a talkative one. My friend, I'm a chatterbox when I'm with Tim. I will speak about Obebiawa even before I was born. Even I will bring everything, you know. But the thing is, if I'm around another person, I am not speaking. And he'll be the one that is looking at me. He'll be the one that is minding his business on phone. I'll be the one that is tapping on him to remind him we were having a conversation, and it has to restart again. But the thing is, there is that person not just being talkative and hyperactive, but being toxic. Thank you. Being toxic. So when you become toxic, this person swallows until you've also created a pressure in themselves. They break down, and now they also melt down. And sometimes the quiet people, when they melt down, they will just walk away. They will look for an exit to steam off. And sometimes when they steam off and they become happy, they will never want to come back to the thing that caused them the problem. So you realize that then you are killing the significant relationships because you have failed to handle pressure. You have failed to handle the breakdown. You have failed to handle the meltdown. Okay? And it's not good. And number 3, it aborts your dreams. Do you know strangling your dream? You strangle your dream before it even has a chance to live. It's a bit coming up, you know, but because there is a pressure, a tornado inside of you. And let me tell you, just like I said, some of them are self-imposed. Indeed, there is a tornado that is happening inside of you. No one else knows that that tornado is actually happening inside of you. You're breaking down because of unmet expectations. You're breaking down because of the frustrations. You're breaking down because of, you know, the deadlines that you did not meet. You're breaking down because you have not, you've not gotten a spouse. And that is why for most people that come to me and they are facing other stresses of life, I tell them that, you know what, yes, we can do this as a session, but I need you to be able to put that down, and we try to reorganize and find why you are on earth. Because when we find the purpose as to why you are on this planet, that will cease to be too important. You will focus on something that is more important, and then everything else will be an added advantage. A man can find you when you're happy, but the moment you're stressed, you realize that people strangle relationships before they begin. They do. Why? Because you have come with your tsunami inside. A tornado is boiling, okay? It is pouring over. And then you come, first date, and then you even ask so many questions. Why? Because now this good relationship must be fast-tracked. You must recover all the 7 years in one day. So all of a sudden you ask so many things. You even ask things that you're not supposed to ask. And then you also talk about things that you're not supposed to talk about. You know, our grandma, you know, yeah. our grandma used to eat people. You know why? Why? Because they told you transparency, you know, builds relationships. So you become the transparent you. Kumbe a tornado is building inside of you. And then all of a sudden, you want to say, you go to hug goodbye, but for you, you're bringing the mouth to peck. Yes, people go ahead of themselves. Tell me you've never heard of these scenarios. You take your mouth to peck, and all of a sudden this person is thinking, God, this Caspid. Caspid. And then all of a sudden, when they get home, you wait. You're waiting to receive a text message that maybe to tell you, oh, this was a nice date, we should do it again. Or maybe to just tell you, I miss you, or I had a good time. And then you wait, it's not coming. Midnight comes, and 1 a.m. comes. You're checking your phone, 2 a.m. You're checking your phone. By mistake, you even sleep off. In the morning, you check your phone, there is no text message. And then all of a sudden, you start. Why didn't you text me? You're a liar. I've been waiting, but all men are the same. I think I've known your true character. I think God just helped me. And let me tell you, if the tornado is building in a Christian, just know you're getting double portion. Because they have scriptures. We have scriptures, my friend. We can quote scriptures, and then we have a spirit of discernment that scans everyone. You will tell them by... Exactly. We are in the spirit. You will know them by their fruit. You can even speak tongues. Like, you know what? You know, God has unveiled. Now, you even go to your prayerful sister. God has unveiled a spirit of, you know, of slowness in this person. And then you even tell them what to bind and what to rebuke. But you realize you are under pressure. So because you are under pressure, you cannot think straight. There is a part of you that is broken. And now you are melting down. Have you ever melted chocolate? I'm a chocolate lover. So, but if you melt chocolate, you see how it rubs on everything. You can never want to even have a chocolate that is not from the fridge. You know how you even just hold it and all of a sudden it is soft and you can't eat it anymore. So some of us are like bars of chocolate. Like we were sweet people, but now we have become liquid because of meltdown and because of pressure. There is no pressure that is cold. All pressure is hot.
Yeah.
Because with pressure comes friction. With pressure comes rubbing on. With pressure comes intensity. With pressure comes heaviness. With pressure, so there is nothing that is cold that comes with that. It is hot, hot, hot. And now if you just don't have the grace and the wisdom to handle yourself in those hot moments, then the outbursts happen. You become a volcano. You know a volcano that is erupting? We don't mind whoever is around, we just erupt. So we erupt at the school's teacher, you're like, I'm going to give her a piece of my mind. What did they do to my son? You point fingers, you shake your head. And you know, meltdowns have signs. Let me tell you, when you see someone melting down, run as fast as you can. Run as fast as you can. If God has given you the grace to handle, as a psychologist, as a mentor, and you just know how to handle them, please handle them with care. But if you're not equipped to do that, do not get near the fire. Because everything you'll be putting on will be flaring it. Everything you'll be saying. It's like telling someone, you will be okay. Nenga, they're in the middle of a furnace. You will be okay. What do you mean? It even ceases to make meaning. Okay? And sometimes all they need is your silence. When you're silent, you're around, you show them, I'm here with you. And yesterday, Diana was telling me, Hilda, one thing I love about you, Towakana. And indeed, so I was like, what do you mean? I come, Hilda, like, Teweta wanyana bulamu. Like, all the years I have seen you in my life, you are not the kind who will go up against someone and you'll want to show them to make a point and what. If that is what you believe, it's okay. I have to love you so much in order to involve in a back and forth about how I understand something and how you understand something so that we can have a common ground. But if you're not too close to me, I will say, you know what? I will pray for you. I will make a prayer for you. But again, I am not going to waste my 10 minutes arguing. Or in other words, I will tell you, try it your way. When it refuses, come back. Let's talk about it. Okay? So let's learn how to handle pressure. Now, pressure, what the number last, what it does, it lets your guard down and affects the next generation. Let me tell you, some of us have seen the grace and the mercy and the favor because someone worked for it. I usually tell my mother that I wouldn't be where I am if she had not come with a grader and she was the first person on site and graded the land so that when I come, I am planting the seeds and I am doing the easy work, but she was the grader that went through. That is why under no circumstance your generation, your descendants should suffer the same things that you have suffered. They should be able to find a softer ground for them to actually go on and proceed. So if you're passing on legacy, you're not passing on the legacy from starting from scratch. No, that is not legacy. Legacy should be actually be modeled. It should be, it should have systems. It should have, why? Because you were the first creator. Yes, you went through the pressure. You went through the breakdown. Yes, you melted down a bit. Newe kunganya, you break down again. Newe kunganya, but you realize that you're doing all that as an investment into your descendants and the future generation. That if my mother had not said that, not on my watch, my children are not going to die in a foreign country, I would have died in a foreign country together with my siblings. Because wisdom and pressure, okay, are two repelling things. When you're under pressure, wisdom ceases to function. You have to be able to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And sometimes the salvation of the Lord, it's not God coming in his mighty and just putting down his hand and taking you away from that, whatever scenario it is. What he does, the salvation of the Lord, is the wisdom that God gives you to turn that situation around. Okay, so when he says stand still, it's because he is saying that amidst chaos, you will not listen to my voice. That amidst all the noises, you're not going, amidst the meltdown, while you're crying and cursing everyone, can you calm down? Can you stop blaming everyone? Okay? Can I do a work in you? Because then how is God going to do a work while you're jumping? You know, meltdowns? You're jumping here, you're jumping there. You're seeking refuge in people, you're cursing these ones, you're deleting those ones, you're blocking those ones. You're saying your boss is the worst person to ever happen to you. Even that workplace, I don't need it. And then you go back and admit that you have rent bills. Meanwhile, you cast your job. Because one way and one sure way of being able to help yourself, even in the moment, is to calm down. Even with kids that melt down, they will tell you that create a safe environment for them where they can retreat on their own. So for my son, his bedroom, that was the safe environment. He would go, lock himself up, sit on his bed. He would keep quiet for the next 3 hours. Even when you put on his best cartoon, even when you do what, but we understood that. And then when he comes back, he gets to the fridge, takes a drink, and then all of a sudden, everything is fine. He goes out and plays. So we're like, okay, if that is how he copes, then, of course, we didn't know what to do. You know, as a parent, you're seeing a 2-year-old, and you just don't know how to help them. And so I had to go. Let me tell you, I read all the blogs. I met all the all the therapists. I did everything. I think I used to tell you some of these things. You know, engage speech therapists, because at some point we're like, you know what? He's frustrated because he cannot speak out what he's facing. So now he carves back into himself, because even when he speaks, we can't understand him. And now God helped us that Ariella, after some time, became an interpreter. So he would say one thing, like he would call the sister Wewa, and then Ariella, that means Ariella. So she became the interpreter, because they spent too much time together, that she would tell us that now she's saying water, she would say tita. And so if you don't know him, you would not know that he wants water. And so Ariella would be so quick to say, Mommy, he wants water. And so after some time at home, we all got used to that. And then, of course, the language started developing, and, you know, it became way better. But you understand the meltdown when someone cannot even make meaning, cannot even communicate, and now you're just looking at them. And I know that some of us have faced that, even with the adults. You look at someone is melting down, you don't know where to help, and you're at a loss of words. You're looking at them. Sometimes you pray, but you feel your prayers are hitting the ceiling and coming back to you. And sometimes it can even be a client. Hey, client, and a client who is entitled to their own money. I gave you my money, and you gave me these shoddy things. My goodness. Now that is where you know that after you have been refined and the best version of you has come out, when a client comes like that, you will know how to handle them. You will be like, because there are some people, business people, that have raised their voice while the client is raising their voice. They're saying this, and if you don't want to go, even your company was not you, how many, I get so many clients. And you're like, they say, tezikola ki tezaaka. So that means you're the kind who just needs to know that, you know what, this person is under pressure. I don't know where the pressure is coming from. I am not the cause of the pressure. And by the way, even if it is your husband or your wife and they are scattered and they are melting down, the first thing that we usually do, and that is a trap, we blame ourselves for their meltdown. So like, maybe it's me, maybe. So you end up second guessing yourself, even the food. You second guess the salt that you put in the food. You second guess how you made the bed. You second guess how the sitting room looks. You second guess everything, because then you're thinking, maybe I'm the one who created the problems. But again, half the time it's not you. So exclude yourself from the equation until he mentions that you are the cause. If he has not mentioned or she has not mentioned, don't put yourself as the cause, because what that is going to happen is it is also putting pressure on you, and now your voice and tone are going to go high. You're going to go into defense mode, and before you know it, they are hyper, you are becoming hyper, or they are hyper and you're avoidant. And so while they are hyper and you're avoidant, they become more hyper. So before you know it, let me tell you, there are certain scenarios of people that have separated, of couples that are separated, but it would never have ended up in separation. Never. Like you could literally sit down and talk your issues, but one of you was just not willing to see reason. There was lack of willingness. Number one, to tone down. Number two, to respect. There was, and then the number one on the list is you failed to manage your own pressure, because even when another person causes the pressure, they are not the ones that are going to manage it. It is your pressure to manage. So we manage the pressure, okay? So don't let your guard down. If my mother had let her guard down, I would not be here. And I believe that if I ever let my guard down on anything, my children are not going to inherit the legacy that I am working so hard. And some of us, the devil is a liar, that you create a legacy and then you sabotage it in the middle. You create a legacy, build, and then because the pressure becomes too much, let me tell you, the higher you go, the higher the pressure. No, in this case, the hotter. The higher you go. No, let me tell you, if you're operating your business at a certain level, you have not seen any pressure. But as the business goes higher, as the money becomes higher, as you hire more people, as you have more clients, as in more demons are coming out of the skeleton, okay? Now you don't know whether you can handle, because you're getting bigger, and that is why some businesses never take off. Because we do not trust ourselves enough to handle the pressure, so we stay in a plateaued state for a very long time because we have not trusted ourselves. And we are not even willing to take a risk or even to test ourselves. Because had you tested yourself, you would know the capacity. And just like I told you, whatever pressure is coming to you, you were built for it. And that pressure is molding something better for you. So how do you manage the pressure? Because we said the pressure sometimes comes from external sources. It comes from other people. And sometimes there is a pressure that comes that is constructive and a pressure that is not constructive. So I want you to be able to differentiate the two. A pressure that is constructive is someone wants you to hit a deadline and they genuinely communicated this deadline and you know it, and now they're asking for a report and you're being avoidant. There is pressure that comes at you and you borrowed money. And then all of a sudden you don't want that person to call you. And the debt for payment debt has arrived. And now you're making it a battle. You told them on the 21st, please, I will pay you. The only prudent thing is call and tell them that, you know what, it's not possible. Give me more 2 weeks. And don't underestimate, don't say, when you're lying. If you know you're zifuna, give them a longer period. Tell them, please, give me a month. And when they say, I need before the month nagamba na ngenda kwesala sala like sina jingenda kuzijja naye wenzifuna ngomwaka omwezi teguna wera njazikuwa na ye chensaba is so that obera mirembe nange mbere mirembe ompe mwaka banga kano. You are being respectful and you're being a person of your word and intentional about how you handle it. But sometimes we have piled pressure on ourselves. Whenever you see the call, you even stop thinking. You cannot pray. You cannot do anything. Why? Because now the calls are intensifying. And that is, you know, you have brought it upon yourself. Now, there is pressure that people just come and stagger and fall in. So when what you do is you tune them out. God gave us the capability that we can tune people out. That you can even be in this room and everyone is speaking their own language and your mind can zone out. You zone out everyone and you listen to your inner person. And that is what meditation does. That you're able to connect with the core of who you are and listen to your inner person, and sometimes it stabilizes you. Because the noise sometimes can be too much. For example, someone doesn't like you. Are you going to cut yourself into pieces so that they don't like you? You're not. So if that is putting pressure on yourself and you discover that, you know what, some of us are carrying pressures that are not supposed to be ours. Nchairako. You're hating someone on behalf of another. And then you're feeling so bad when this person comes into the room. What poison are you taking? As in, what's the matter? Why can't you leave people carry their own burdens? You're like, chiguse bono, chiguso jakumbulia chechavuddem, but until then, I am here calculating my money, stock taking. I am communicating to my clients, I'm building my business, I'm building my legacy, I am busy. Can we be busy? So you tune some people out, okay? And then when the pressure is constructive, listen and learn. Because sometimes that client is screaming about something, and because you're not willing to hear reason, you're screaming back at them. But if you had kept quiet, you would know that indeed I didn't deliver on time. I broke my own promises. And it's as simple as saying, just like they say, is it a kind word? Puts down all the tempers. When you tell this person that, I know my mistake. I know I broke my promises, I didn't deliver on time, but I promise you it will never happen again. You have a chance of retaining that client. Than one that says, no busente wasasude busente meka bobo yomba yinzo kuloza wasasude na bukadde bumeka. And then you want everyone around you to side with you. And that is why I usually say that if you weka kasa bulungi, even when you're getting married, get married to a person weka kasa, because they will not take sides with you. They will say, Mama Nakato. Wefuge. You get it? And maybe they will take you aside and they will tell you, you do not even have a right to lift your voice. Apologize, or they will go step in and apologize on your behalf, and they will rectify the situation. But you realize that certain instances, you listen and learn. I think I've said it so many times to the people that I work with, that sometimes the pressure that is in administration and being able to look over who is doing what and who is doing what, sometimes that pressure makes you better. Because when you go to another working environment, you'll be self-driven. They'll be like, hey, they've gotten a gift. And indeed, that's what has happened. For everyone that has left this media house to actually go everywhere else, they're like gold. Now they know, all the radio stations around, they know. We train. We are an entry point. So we train, we perfect, and they poach. They take. But when they take, we give them the blessing. They will even write to me and tell me, so-and-so, you know, applied for a job. And I'll be like, he's a very good person, you know. And he does this. I'll even put in the strengths and all that. And I don't lie. And I've told my team before, if they come to me and they need a word from me about you and I have nothing to say, I will say no comment. But in the HR world, no comment means run away. I have to be able to attach an explanation. Even when they give you those forms to fill, literally they ask for details. What are the 6 things that you can say were the strengths of this worker? So, ngantandika kumaga. And I can't lie, because again, I lie on paper. You go and do manyanga. And then they say this person came from Bahati. Just like I usually tell all the coaches and all the people that in our growth community, if you ever do manyanga, don't say you know Bahati. Please, don't even mention that you know me. Okay, so at least we know how to tune out people, how to listen and learn when the pressure is constructive, and then how to keep going in the direction of our dreams. Have you ever walked ngolinga atawulira? Nga gwe weeyongerayo. The pressure is pressuring, but again, your dreams are also dreaming. You keep going in the line of your... Has someone ever quarreled or melted down and you were not willing to listen? How does that feel? It feels bad on their part, right? But again, on your side, you feel like you have conquered the world. You're like, I'm silencing the enemy. You feel fortified. Why? Because then you're still thinking about your things that you want to do in the day. You're still thinking, like you're still keeping your line of thought. You're not being affected by everything that is happening. Because, my friend, if we are affected by everything, then we can never amount to anything. We are going to be stressed and we are going to break down and then we are going to melt down, okay? And then sometimes it's good to check in with a friend, okay? Sometimes it's good to check in with a friend, especially if you can't properly discern whether this is pressure that is building you or pressure that is demoralizing you, okay? When you check in with a friend, when I call Coach Fifi and I'm like, you know what, this is what's happening, because she's not in that situation, it will be so easy for her to decode. Okay, and even speak sense, and even calm you down. Because a person that is trained and equipped, when you come at them quarreling, have you ever had phone operators and what are they called? The people that we give feedbacks and customer service. Have you ever called them that you're on fire? But you people, I even don't know this network. I'm even going to change my phones. Half the time I'm like, na ye go gamba, ye kozechi. I'm even going to change my network. There's network that is good. You know, when you're annoyed and you're melting down, like literally you can say anything. You just bubble and words are coming out. You're not even decoding and decoding what is coming out. Now the other person is, thank you for calling. And they will even mention the same company that you're abusing. Thank you for calling this company and keep holding on the line. And then, oh my God, they even brought computerized ones. They're like, you know, this phone, it's my surveillance. They are recording. In case of what? And you feel like you are filling up. And then they're like, press this if you want to talk to a human being. Hey, have you guys gone through those things? And then press this to talk to a human being. And meanwhile, the human being is busy talking to another fellow human being the other side. They're even in a conversation, but they have picked your call. And then you feel like you are totally melting down. So sometimes you just need to be able to check in with someone who can be able to calm you, to disarm you. Says, I have picked 6 stones, I am going to stone that man. He's like, soko gampe wano. Tusoke tugatekeko, kanjira nga kuterekera tusoke tuogere ogenda mukubirachi. So when you start, by the way, if you listen to yourself, but some friends save us from a lot, okay? So sometimes that is where it's good to have good colleagues that you can be able to count on and call in times of trouble and tell them that this is what's happening, but I need your honest opinion. And sometimes that is where we say sleep on it. So maybe that person, the best thing they will tell you is, for example, there are people that have called me and I rarely do those sessions of addiction, but there are those that have really said, you know what, you're the only one that we want. When you tell someone that when you're really addicted and you sleep in bars and you say you're about to hit the bar and you're going to drink, please call me. And then, because the delay of them calling you and then telling them, you know what, park where you are, I am coming. Now, by the time you get there and you're talking, the you know, and they're able to go back happily to their family, and then they wait another meltdown when it comes, and that's how they can be able to reverse and walk back from an addiction if they're really serious about recovering from that addiction. So, I want us to look at pressure as not something that is too bad, okay? There's pressure that is bad that comes from people, but we've said tune it out, walk in the direction of your dreams. But the pressure that has come to make us better, the pressure that has come to make us better employers, to make us better bosses, to make us better mothers, better husbands, okay? Being refined and overcoming, that is pressure that is inevitable, and everyone is facing that pressure in the world. But I hope that we can together walk in the direction of our dreams, and we can from time to time catch ourselves in the moment when we are breaking down, when we are melting down, and we are like, no, not me. It should be another person that has not been informed. Because the reason as to why we have such sessions is that we will energize ourselves, and then we retrieve this information at the least expected moments, when your tongue is about to slip to say something, and then you catch yourself in the moment and you're like, am I sabotaging my significant relationships? And then you're like, you know what, I need this relationship, I don't need to jeopardize it. And then you turn around and you speak better words, or even avoid speaking at all. You sleep on it and make a better decisions. So I need us to make a better decisions. And in case you're going through situations, for those of you that are online, we need you to be able to get back to us, give us the feedback, and let us know how we can help, how we can dissect those issues, and how we can grow together. And from us to you is a good night.
Spirit TV, a place for you.